Kira, after 15 years with Tech Vantage, we're restructuring. Your position is being eliminated, Marjorie Thompson announced, her voice carrying a barely concealed note of satisfaction. She sat across from me in the sterile, small conference room, flanked by Denise from HR, both wearing carefully crafted expressions of corporate regret. The company is moving in a new direction, Denise added, sliding a standard manila folder across the table. The severance package. Your contributions have been valuable, but we're consolidating the research division. I nodded thoughtfully, accepting the folder, but not opening it. I knew what was inside. I completely understand, I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil I should have felt. Relief flashed across their faces. They'd clearly expected tears or anger from a 55-year-old woman being pushed out of the youth-obsessed tech industry. What they didn't know was I'd seen this coming for weeks, ever since that misdirected email landed in my inbox. We'd like you to clean out your desk by Friday, Marjorie continued, gaining confidence. We'll need your keycard, company laptop, and phone. My team, 6 brilliant engineers I'd personally mentored, who helped build the algorithm now powering Tech Vantage's flagship product, they'd be notified this afternoon. Of course, I said simply. They didn't know what was really about to happen. To see how Kira turns this devastating moment into an unbelievable victory, make sure you subscribe to Lifestories1 right now. As I walked back towards my office, a place that suddenly felt alien, I passed the glass-walled executive conference room. Inside, CEO Victor Lawson was gesturing animatedly at a PowerPoint slide titled Q3 Revenue Projections. The same Victor Lawson who, at last year's industry conference, had grandly taken credit for the distributed processing algorithm I developed, referring to me merely as one of our research team members. The irony wasn't lost on me. Closing my office door, the click of the latch sounding unnervingly final, I pulled out my personal phone. My fingers flew across the screen, sending a single, concise text message. It's happening. Friday is my last day. The reply was almost instantaneous. Perfect timing, contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details. A slow smile spread across my face as I glanced at the calendar on my desk. Today was Wednesday. Friday, I would walk out of Tech Vantage forever. And Monday would be fascinating. That evening, far from the prying eyes near Tech Vantage headquarters, I met Gregory Sullivan at Meridian, an upscale restaurant known for its discretion. As the CEO of Precision Systems, Tech Vantage's largest competitor, Greg understood the value of secrecy. He'd reserved a private dining alcove, shielded by elegant Japanese screens. They actually did it, Greg said, shaking his head in disbelief after we ordered. I suspected they might, but to cut the very person who developed their core technology. Victor never truly understood what he had, did he? I sipped my water. He saw the implementation, the user interface, the marketing potential, I replied. But the underlying architecture, the sheer innovation, that was just tech stuff to him. He never grasped its foundational importance. The real story, the one that led us here, began 3 months ago. I discovered, almost by accident, that Tech Vantage's supposedly top-tier legal team had never actually filed the patent application for my algorithm. An oversight they'd claimed when I inquired, assuring me they'd handle it immediately. But something about their breezy dismissal, their lack of urgency, felt profoundly wrong. It prompted me to dig deeper into the company's internal documentation during my own time. That's when I found it, a buried strategy memo. It chillingly outlined their plan to claim the algorithm as company-developed technology without specific inventor attribution, effectively erasing me from my own creation. Their timeline was clear. Push me out before securing the patent, exploiting the standard employment clause that intellectual property developed on company time belongs to the company. But Tech Vantage had made a critical miscalculation. They didn't know that, fueled by suspicion, I'd already been working on significant refinements to the algorithm. Crucially, I did this work exclusively on my own time, using my personal equipment and resources, meticulously documenting everything. These weren't minor tweaks. These improvements dramatically increased processing efficiency by a staggering 43%, creating a distinctly new iteration of the technology, one not covered by my Tech Vantage employment agreement. Last month, armed with incontrovertible proof, detailed development logs, timestamps, records of personal equipment usage, I quietly filed for a patent under my own name for these enhanced algorithms. Thanks to Greg's introduction to a top-tier IP attorney, the patent had been granted with remarkable speed. Now, Greg slid another folder across the polished table, this one from Precision Systems. "All the paperwork is finalized," he said, his eyes gleaming with strategic delight. "As soon as you sign, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Innovation Officer." I reviewed the documents, though I already knew the terms by heart: a 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity in Precision Systems, and ongoing royalties from every product utilizing my enhanced algorithm. "What do you think Victor's face will look like when he realizes?" Greg mused, unable to hide his satisfaction. "Honestly," I admitted, "I'm more concerned about my team. They're brilliant, loyal. They don't deserve to be caught in the fallout." Greg nodded, already prepared. "Already addressed. We have positions ready for all 6 of them if they're interested. Senior roles, significant raises, challenging projects." Relief washed over me. With a steady hand, I signed its name, the final page, and closed the folder. In one elegant, calculated move, I had secured my future, protected my team, and ensured my life's work received the recognition it deserved. "To new beginnings," Greg said, raising his glass. I clinked my glass against his. "And to owning your own value," I added, the words resonating with newfound power. Thursday and Friday passed in a strange, detached blur. I moved through the required exit interviews, knowledge transfer meetings, and awkward goodbyes with colleagues like an actress playing a part. My professional composure remained intact, a carefully constructed facade, even as rumors about my sudden departure rippled through the cubicles. Administrative assistants offered sympathetic glances in the hallways, their eyes conveying pity I neither needed nor wanted. Junior developers approached haltingly, asking if I'd mind providing a LinkedIn recommendation before I left, a small testament to the mentorship Tech Vantage was so casually discarding. Through it all, I documented everything meticulously. Every project status, every access password, every intricate process related to the systems I'd built or managed over 15 years. I knew, with chilling certainty, that Tech Vantage would soon discover just how desperately they needed this information, how integral I truly was. My decision to leave behind comprehensive transition notes wasn't driven by kindness. It was strategic. It was evidence. Evidence that I had acted in good faith, fulfilling my professional obligations to the very end, while the company had plotted in the shadows. During my final exit interview on Friday afternoon, Denise from HR went through the standard checklist with robotic efficiency. Her voice was devoid of emotion as she recited the corporate script. "You understand," she stated, pushing a non-disclosure agreement across the table, "that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of Tech Vantage." Her eyes scanned her list, not meeting mine. "Of course," I replied pleasantly, picking up the pen. "Anything developed within the scope of my employment, using company resources, during company time." I placed a slight but deliberate emphasis on those crucial qualifiers, the legal carve-outs that protected my position. But Denise, focused solely on ticking boxes and processing my termination, didn't notice. She was merely a cog in the machine. "And you affirm," she continued, "that you have retained no copies of proprietary company information?" "I have taken nothing that belongs to Tech Vantage," I confirmed truthfully, signing the NDA with a flourish. The patent, the one that truly mattered now, was unequivocally mine, developed outside those specific parameters. Later, as I packed the personal remnants of 15 years into a plain cardboard box, framed family photos, a worn collection of conference badges marking milestones now rendered bittersweet, the cheerful coffee mug my team had given me last Christmas. Marjorie stopped by. She leaned against my doorframe with an air of forced casualness, watching me wrap a small, elegant glass award. The irony was palpable. It was an award I'd received for the very algorithm now at the center of my plans. I carefully placed it between layers of tissue paper. "I just wanted to check that everything's clear for your departure, Kira," she said, her gaze lingering on the box. "Crystal clear," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. She tried a different tack, perhaps seeking to absolve herself or the company. "You know, Kira, these restructuring decisions, they're never personal. Victor just feels the company needs to move in a more youthful direction." I finally looked up, meeting her gaze directly. "I understand completely, Marjorie," I said, letting a hint of steel enter my voice. "Business is business." Something in my tone, a flicker of unexpected resolve, made her pause. Uncertainty crossed her face for a brief second, a tiny crack in her corporate armor. But just as quickly, she dismissed it. What could a 55-year-old woman, soon to be unemployed, possibly do? "Well," she recovered, shifting to faux concern, "will you be taking some time off? Maybe travel?" A genuine smile touched my lips this time. "Actually," I replied, enjoying the moment, "I already have something lined up. I start Monday." Surprise registered plainly on her features. "Oh? That's fast. Anything interesting?" "Very," I said, keeping my smile bright and enigmatic. "A leadership position. I'm quite excited about it." She nodded absently, her mind clearly already moving on to other, more important matters now that the problem was handled. "Well, good luck with that," she offered dismissively before turning away. As I walked out of Tech Vantage's gleaming glass headquarters for the final time, keycard surrendered, box of memories in hand, I paused on the sidewalk. I took a moment to look back at the imposing building where I'd poured so much of my life and intellect. High up on the top floor, the lights in the executive conference room were still blazing against the evening sky. I could almost picture them inside, likely discussing how to redistribute my responsibilities among younger, less experienced, and significantly less expensive staff. Little did they know that in less than 72 hours, that very same room wouldn't be planning the future, but scrambling to survive the present in an emergency crisis meeting of their own making. Monday morning dawned bright and clear, feeling symbolic of a fresh start. I dressed carefully in my new charcoal suit, an outfit I'd purchased specifically for this day. Not just clothing, but armor and a statement. The Precision Systems town car arrived precisely at 7:30 a.m., whisking me away from the remnants of my old life towards their sleek, modern headquarters. Stepping into my new corner office, with its expansive floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views, felt like entering a different world. Greg Sullivan was already there, a tablet in hand and a triumphant glint in his eye. "The press release went live exactly at 7 a.m., he informed me, gesturing towards the screen. "Industry newsletters are already picking it up. I've got the communications team monitoring reactions in real time." The announcement itself was a masterpiece of strategic precision, crafted by Greg's expert team in consultation with me. It declared that Precision Systems had acquired exclusive rights to a revolutionary processing algorithm and proudly welcomed its creator, Dr. Kira Jennings, as their new Chief Innovation Officer. It meticulously detailed my background, unequivocally emphasizing my role as the sole inventor of the now patented technology, the very technology underpinning Tech Vantage's success. Furthermore, it outlined Precision Systems' ambitious plans to integrate the algorithm into their next generation of products. The final paragraph was the kill shot. It clearly stated that any company currently utilizing this patented technology, leaving no doubt who that meant, would need to negotiate licensing agreements directly with Precision Systems moving forward. The fuse had been lit. At precisely 9:15 a.m., my personal phone, sitting silently on the polished desk, lit up. It was the first text from my former team at a Tech Vantage. Miguel, my sharp lead developer. Complete chaos here. What did you do? A small, satisfied smile played on my lips. I quickly typed back. Check your personal email. All 6 of you. Offers are waiting. Meanwhile, just 8 miles away, the predictable Monday morning executive meeting at Tech Vantage headquarters was undergoing a dramatic and unforeseen transformation. According to Miguel's increasingly frantic play-by-play updates throughout the morning, Victor Lawson had arrived at the office expecting a routine start to the week. Instead, he was met at his door by the company's general counsel and chief financial officer, both reportedly ashen-faced and clutching printouts of the Precision Systems announcement that had simultaneously hit their executive inboxes, setting off immediate, shrieking alarms. By 9:30 a.m., what should have been a mundane review of quarterly targets had morphed into an emergency crisis session. Board members were dialing in remotely, their voices sharp with urgent questions. The legal team was scrambling, frantically pulling my employment contract, NDAs, and every scrap of documentation related to the algorithm's development, searching desperately for a loophole that didn't exist. "They're pulling every file with your name on it, Kira," Miguel texted minutes later. "Someone just wheeled in all the servers from the research division for the tech team to analyze. Panic mode is an understatement." I could vividly picture the scene. Victor, red-faced and pacing the length of that glass-walled conference room, demanding explanations, likely blaming everyone but himself, especially Marjorie and the legal department. The stock market, sensitive to any hint of instability, was already reacting. Investors despised uncertainty, and this announcement had unleashed a tidal wave of it. Then, at 10:45 a.m., an email landed in my new Precision Systems inbox. The sender, Victor Lawson. The desperation practically radiated from the screen. "Kira, there appears to be a significant misunderstanding regarding recent announcements. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss this matter." Without a second thought, I forwarded it directly to the Precision Systems legal team with a simple note, FYI. I didn't reply. By noon, the entire tech industry was buzzing. Tech Vantage's stock had plummeted 7% since the market opened, wiping out millions in valuation. Conversely, Precision Systems had surged by 12%. 3 different major technology journals had already sent interview requests, eager for the inside scoop on the strategic coup that had rocked the accounting software world. Greg stopped by my office again as I was starting to familiarize myself with the company's systems. "How are you feeling?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. I looked up, meeting his gaze. "Validated," I replied honestly. 15 years of watching others take credit, of being patted on the head and told I should be grateful just to have a seat at the table. And now, finally, recognition. Just then, my new executive assistant appeared at the door. "Dr. Jennings, the development team is ready for you in the main conference room." She hesitated slightly. "And, Tech Vantage's CEO, Mr. Lawson? He's called 4 times in the last hour." I felt a surge of calm authority I hadn't realized I possessed. "Please let Mr. Lawson's office know I'm in meetings all day," I instructed smoothly. "I'll have our legal team reach out to his counsel later this week to discuss potential licensing options." As I walked towards my first official meeting as Chief Innovation Officer, ready to outline the future, my phone buzzed one last time in my pocket. It was Miguel. "Board just called an emergency session. Victor looks like he's literally about to explode. P.S. My team and I accept your offers. When can we start?" The pieces were falling into place, exactly as planned. By Tuesday morning, the shockwaves from Monday's announcement had fully permeated Tech Vantage, and the stark reality of their situation became undeniable. Their flagship product, AccountSphere, the software responsible for the lion's share of their revenue, relied entirely on the intricate processing capabilities of my algorithm. Without legal rights to use the patented, improved version, now exclusively licensed to Precision Systems, they faced 2 equally disastrous options. Option 1. Attempt to negotiate a licensing deal with Precision Systems, paying exorbitant fees that would cripple their profit margins and publicly acknowledging they'd driven out their core innovator. Option 2. Try to rebuild their foundational technology from scratch, a monumental undertaking that would consume years, cost millions in development, and likely leave them hopelessly behind in a rapidly evolving market. Neither path looked promising. It was Miguel's last official day at Tech Vantage, and the updates kept coming. "Victor has called an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m., he texted late Tuesday morning. "The rumor mill is churning overtime. Word is, they're going to try to sue you for IP theft." I immediately forwarded his message to Precision Systems' legal department. Their response was swift and brimming with confidence. "Let them try. Your documentation is impeccable. Development logs, timestamps, proof of personal equipment usage, all clearly established outside your employment scope. We anticipated this potential reaction and have prepared accordingly. They have no case." While Tech Vantage descended further into chaos, I was settling into my new role at Precision Systems with remarkable ease. The contrast was jarring. Here, when I spoke in meetings, people actually listened. My ideas weren't subtly appropriated by male colleagues, only to be presented as their own minutes later. My age and decades of experience were genuinely viewed as assets, valuable resources, rather than liabilities nearing an expiration date. During an afternoon briefing with Greg, he shared some early results that brought another smile to my face. "The engineering team is already implementing your efficiency improvements," he reported, clearly pleased. "Early sandbox testing shows a 51% performance boost, Kira. Even better than the 43% we initially projected based on your documentation." I allowed myself a small, knowing nod. "I had several additional refinements I never shared with Tech Vantage," I admitted coolly. After I discovered their plan to eliminate my position, I saw no compelling reason to give them my absolute best work any longer. Greg chuckled, a sound of pure satisfaction. "Their loss is most definitely our gain. Speaking of which," he added, gesturing to another message on his tablet, "the first licensing inquiry came in this morning. Not from Tech Vantage yet. They seem to be stuck in the denial phase. This was from Dataflow Systems. They're worried about being caught in the competitive crossfire now." Later that afternoon, Miguel sent a detailed, almost play-by-play account of Victor's disastrous all-hands meeting. The CEO had apparently tried to project an image of strength and confidence, assuring the anxious staff that Tech Vantage would vigorously defend our proprietary technology. But the anxiety in the packed auditorium had been palpable. Miguel noted several employees conspicuously updating their LinkedIn profiles during the meeting, sensing the company's sudden vulnerability. Marjorie looked like she was about to faint when someone in the back actually asked directly if management had failed to secure the patent for the core algorithm, Miguel reported. Victor completely dodged the question and cut the Q&A session short right after that. By Wednesday, the industry fallout had intensified significantly. We learned that 2 major long-term clients had contacted Precision Systems' sales division, expressing serious concerns about Tech Vantage's ability to maintain and support AccountSphere without its original creator, and inquiring about transitioning to our platform. Our stock reflected the growing confidence, rising another 8%, while Tech Vantage's continued its painful decline. That morning, I received a call I had half expected. It was Denise from HR, the same woman who had slid my severance package across the table just days earlier, like she was disposing of unwanted office furniture. Her voice was carefully modulated, professionally strained. "Kira," she began, "I'm calling on behalf of Tech Vantage leadership to discuss the, situation regarding your recently issued patent. We believe there may have been a misunderstanding concerning the ownership rights." I kept my own voice calm and level. "Denise, I don't believe there's any misunderstanding at all. My employment agreement clearly stipulates that intellectual property developed on my own time, using my own resources, remains my own. The patent documentation, which I assume your legal team now has, confirms exactly that." There was a heavy pause. "Well," she continued, clearly reading from a script. Victor was hoping you might consider coming in to discuss potential options. I cut her off politely but firmly. Any discussions regarding the use of my patented technology would need to go through Precision Systems' legal department now, Denise. I'm sure they would be happy to schedule a meeting to discuss possible licensing terms with Tech Vantage's counsel. The silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. Finally, a defeated sigh. I see. I'll pass that along. That afternoon, I stood confidently at the head of the main boardroom table at Precision Systems, delivering my first formal presentation to their board of directors. I outlined our aggressive technology roadmap with my enhanced algorithm positioned firmly at its center, ready to drive the next wave of innovation. As I fielded insightful questions from engaged board members, a stark contrast to the dismissive audiences I often faced at Tech Vantage, I caught Greg's approving nod from across the table. It was a small gesture, but it signified a seismic shift. I wasn't just present anymore. I was leading. By Friday, exactly 1 week after I had walked out of Tech Vantage for the last time, the company had officially entered full crisis mode. Their stock had cratered, shedding a staggering 23% from Monday's opening bell, triggering frantic, concerned calls from major institutional investors. Industry analysts, smelling blood in the water, were publishing speculative pieces with ominous titles like "Can Tech Vantage Survive the Algorithm Crisis?" and "How One Strategic Blunder May Cost a Tech Giant Everything." Through my network of industry contacts, I learned that Victor Lawson had finally been forced to acknowledge the catastrophic severity of the situation to the board. Their options remained grim. Either license my algorithm from Precision Systems, likely at exorbitant rates that would devastate their already shrinking profit margins, or undertake a complete, multi-year, multi-million-dollar rebuild of AccountSphere's core without using any technology covered by my patent. They seemed to be leaning towards the latter initially. They've actually started interviewing for a new development team, Miguel informed me during our Friday video call, where we were cheerfully discussing his upcoming transition to Precision Systems. Victor's claiming internally they can recreate the core functionality in 6 months. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. 6 months? The original algorithm took me 3 years to perfect, and that was with intimate knowledge of the problem space and a dedicated, brilliant team. Exactly, Miguel agreed, grinning. Nobody's believing the timeline, especially not after my entire team posted our resignation letters simultaneously yesterday. The knowledge drain is massive. They're hemorrhaging talent and expertise. The absurdity of the 6-month claim, coupled with the mass exodus of their entire R&D core, must have finally broken through the layers of denial and ego. Late that Friday afternoon, Tech Vantage's attorneys finally reached out to Precision Systems' legal department to formally open a dialogue about potential licensing arrangements. Our legal team, following the strategy we had meticulously developed, responded with terms that were technically fair by industry comparison, but strategically painful. 3 times the standard licensing rate, plus a non-negotiable clause requiring a public acknowledgement of my role as the technology's sole inventor. They'll balk at the acknowledgement more than the cost, Greg predicted as we reviewed the official response in his office. Victor's ego, even on his way out, won't allow him to publicly admit he pushed out the very person who created their core technology. Then they'll have to rebuild, I replied calmly, and every single day they spend trying fruitlessly to replicate my work is another day we extend our lead in the market. The following Monday morning, exactly 10 days after my unceremonious dismissal, I led the first official meeting with my newly assembled innovation team at Precision Systems. The energy in the room was electric as Miguel and the other 5 incredibly talented engineers I'd brought over from Tech Vantage eagerly joined Precision's existing experts. We immediately dove into mapping out the next evolution of my algorithm, brainstorming ideas freely. This, commented Anita, one of my most trusted senior engineers from the old team, is how development meetings should be. At Tech Vantage, we spent half our time trying to explain basic concepts to executives who wouldn't listen anyway. That's the fundamental difference, I replied. looking around the table at the engaged faces. Between being truly valued for your expertise and merely being seen as a replaceable cog. As we were wrapping up that incredibly productive session, my assistant appeared at the door, her expression urgent. "Dr. Jennings?" she interrupted apologetically. "There's been a significant development with Tech Vantage. Their board just announced an emergency leadership change via press release. Victor Lawson is stepping down, effective immediately." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, industry publications were reporting that Tech Vantage's board had irrevocably lost confidence in Victor's leadership following the catastrophic patent oversight. Also out, Marjorie Thompson, whose complicity was undeniable, along with the head of legal, who had presided over the failure to secure the original patent. That evening, an unexpected email arrived from Richard Donovan, Tech Vantage's newly appointed interim CEO. Unlike Victor's desperate, rambling message from the previous week, this one was concise, straightforward, and respectful. "Dr. Jennings," it began, "congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to help Tech Vantage navigate the current challenging situation. I would like to discuss establishing a fair and mutually beneficial licensing arrangement for your patented technology. We are prepared to acknowledge your foundational contributions publicly and make appropriate amends for the oversights of previous management. Would you be available to meet sometime next week?" I forwarded the email to Greg, adding only a simple 3-word note. Phase 1 complete. His reply came back instantly. "Beautifully executed, Kira. The board is celebrating your first major victory for Precision Systems. Looks like Tech Vantage is finally learning an expensive but necessary lesson about valuing innovation and innovators." 3 months later, I stood on the main stage at the prestigious National Technology Innovation Conference, preparing to deliver the keynote address. The large auditorium was filled with industry leaders, technology journalists, and bright-eyed aspiring developers, many of whom now knew my story. "And now," the conference organizer announced, "I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, the Chief Innovation Officer at Precision Systems and creator of the distributed processing algorithm that has revolutionized data handling across multiple industries, Dr. Kira Jennings." The applause was substantial as I approached the podium. What a profound difference a few months could make. Just last year, I had attended this same conference as part of the Tech Vantage delegation, relegated to a seat in the back rows while Victor Lawson pontificated about his company's supposed innovations. "Thank you," I began, surveying the attentive faces. "Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the critical importance of properly valuing intellectual contributions, regardless of where or who they come from." My presentation detailed the technical power of my algorithm, but also deliberately touched upon the broader, crucial issues of recognition, respect, and ethical leadership within the technology sector. Without ever mentioning Tech Vantage by name, I emphasized how vital it is for companies to protect and champion their innovators, rather than viewing them as expendable resources. Afterward, during the networking reception, several young women engineers approached me, seeking advice and mentorship. One of them, barely 30, confided, "Dr. Jennings, your story. It changed how I document my own work. I started keeping meticulous logs of my development process on my personal time, just in case." "Smart," I replied warmly. "Your innovations deserve protection." As the evening concluded, I checked my phone and saw a breaking industry news alert. Tech Vantage had finally announced the formal licensing agreement with Precision Systems, publicly acknowledging me, by name, as the algorithm's creator. Their stock had reportedly stabilized, albeit at a significantly lower valuation than before my departure. 1 year to the day after being coldly told to clean out my desk, I sat in my spacious, light-filled office at Precision Systems, reviewing the latest quarterly innovation report. Under my leadership, the company had successfully launched 3 groundbreaking products built upon my enhanced algorithm, capturing significant market share directly from Tech Vantage and other competitors. A knock at my door interrupted my analysis. It was Greg, holding a bottle of expensive champagne and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said, setting the glasses on my desk with a celebratory flourish. The board asked me to share the news with you personally before the public announcement goes out tomorrow morning. As of market close today, Precision Systems has officially surpassed Tech Vantage in total market valuation for the first time in company history. I smiled, feeling not triumphalism, but a deep, quiet satisfaction. That's what happens, I murmured, when you value innovation properly. As Greg poured the champagne, my assistant delivered a sleek envelope. Inside was a formal invitation to be a featured speaker at the upcoming Women in Technology Annual Leadership Summit. The proposed topic, Owning Your Intellectual Value, How Proper Documentation and Strategic Action Changed an Industry. You've become something of an icon, you know, Greg commented, noticing the invitation. The story about the executive team who didn't recognize the value they had until it walked out the door and partnered with their biggest competitor. It's become a cautionary tale taught in corporate boardrooms and business schools. Richard Donovan, who had successfully navigated the crisis and remained as Tech Vantage's permanent CEO, had reportedly implemented sweeping changes in how that company now recognized and rewarded internal innovation. Their new robust policies on intellectual property protection and inventor recognition were, I'd heard, heavily modeled after the program I had established here at Precision Systems. It was never about revenge, I said thoughtfully, raising my glass as the afternoon sun streamed through the windows. It was about recognition, about fairness, about showing the entire industry that true innovation isn't anonymous or corporate. It comes from real people who deserve real credit and ownership for their contributions. To proper recognition, Greg agreed, clinking his glass against mine. As I savored the champagne and the moment, I reflected on my improbable journey. At 56, I had finally found what had eluded me for so much of my career. Not just professional success, but true acknowledgement. My name, Dr. Kira Jennings, was now permanently, irrevocably attached to the algorithm that had changed an industry, exactly where it belonged. And so, Kira's journey wasn't just about reclaiming her invention. It was about rewriting the narrative of her career on her own terms. She continued to lead with brilliance and integrity at Precision Systems, mentoring a new generation of innovators and ensuring that recognition always followed contribution. Kira's story teaches us powerful lessons. Always know your value. Meticulously document your work, especially anything created on your own time. Understand the importance of strategic alliances, and never underestimate your own resilience, even when facing blatant corporate disregard or industry biases like ageism. It's a stark reminder that true innovation thrives on respect and proper acknowledgement, not exploitation. It underscores the critical importance of owning your intellectual property and having the courage to stand up for what is rightfully yours. What an incredible testament to turning adversity into triumph. For more compelling true-life accounts of resilience, strategy, and justice, don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories 1.